당저 잡아친 비기 취기 냠네 난 제베게다 심지어 탐지 상주고 방토를 쇼 셈비기 자주 셈게네 근데 상주고 방토비 된도 계체외지 안 가르치 냠는 제가 저 가르쳐 버려라데 파진 중에 냠는 제고래서 나 진바다 주전쇠바 준제 삼된 시라게 파진 냠는 제 인디나네다 아주 샤기 삼된 파진 게 시럽게 냠는 제다 디코마 디가 레사로다 그지 디코 슈베레.
Good evening. Continuing to look then at the practices that a being who has entered into the paths of the Bodhisattva, a being who has generated the mind of the Mahayana Dharma, the mind of bodhicitta in their continuum, continuing to look at the trainings that they engage in order to fulfill their heartfelt aspiration of becoming a Buddha for the sake of others. They engage in the 6 perfections. Of the 6, we've looked at generosity, ethical restraint, joyous perseverance, and patience before that. And last week, we started with the 5th, that of concentration.
나 삼전 냠는 시대라 아주 신내기 냠는 제다고 송고로 진짜 되는 자당 아주 신내 뒤죽고비게 신내도 거바디 금전가래 랍나 아주 유 동반이 또바 있네 동반이래 미비 신내 주마도바 있나 아니 진바도 출연 수비 전제 냠는 가지 체베네 안 탈바다 탐지 김베 고바 투투에 매바래 이자다 되는 자당 아주 탈바 산지 고바 토발라 인지 민지 나 동반이래 미비게 신내 주 아니 신내 디가네 아니 라동 줍전 디냠 공발래 되네 아니 제가 바쳐다 제가 방제는 산지 고바 토고고로와.
The purpose for achieving calm abiding is in order to be able to have this powerful, stable mind of calm abiding on the object of emptiness. This is essential, and it is so important because without having the wisdom realizing emptiness conjoined with the mind of calm abiding and the latter developed mind of meditative insight, without having the minds of their union realizing emptiness, the afflictions cannot be eradicated. No matter how well one trains in the other perfections, the ones that we've already looked at, those of generosity and ethical restraint, patience and joyous perseverance, no matter how well one trains in them, one will not be able to eradicate the afflictions and attain liberation from suffering. So therefore, we need to train in calm abiding so that we can generate that, thereafter, meditative insight, and with their union, realize emptiness.
나디네 안디리 먼저 시바사가다와 세바종아 아니 덤바샤게 투바 아니 점물링들 패제 안초고 주게 나바된제 상기베 제바제기 제바제데 디링 상기베 제바되기 뒤셔티다 디링 제 버제 온도제나 안디링 오도스제네 먼저 지고로와 초고 주게 나바 상기베 제바되기 아 디디신나 시몬 상기베 제바 치고르다 점블링을 초고 주게 나바 된제 상기베 제바 된기 디링 뒤셔티 당서 버제 온도제나 상기 제바 된기 뒤셔티 디링 차고 상기베.
We're discussing this on this very auspicious day of the 15th of the 4th Tibetan month, which is the day of Sakadawa. And this is the commemorative day of when the Buddha came to our world and attained enlightenment.
냐바샤베 토네 디링 뒤세 토랑래야 안에 토랑세도 추수 숨바시와 키고래 어디네질이야 상계바래서 상계 뒤세디 상계바디 영고디와 상계바래베 상여고바 토야디 영고 토바래베 쇼게 토바래세 지여로 뒤세지야 저러와 디기디 토바래스네 먼저 기신의 토랑세로 토랑랍나 배지행 아주 추수 숨나 제가 수디야마디와 되네시 용 over the some chas and over and the lang you. And the nature she got at Sanji Boko, Digital Sanji Dinela and Tombanila Nyambasha. Nyamja Ding on it, didn't it? And yet Nyambasha or Nyambasha and then Sana Gunduan Pa Nyambasha Kozu, Nyambasha, then Nyamja Ding on the Nyambashane, then you choose a Torandua and Sanji Sanji or Sanji, but isn't. And didn't what that's ever Johnson.
Today, then, is the commemoration of when the Buddha attained enlightenment. So he attained it in the third segment of the night, so in the early hours of the morning, maybe around 3 o'clock. And before he attained full and complete enlightenment, he would have been abiding in meditative equipoise on emptiness.
That thing is in the sure that is on didn't the thing is some days the thing is shinegi, don't buy because you position membership shinegi said some watches that you don't buy the membership because thing is in the combalatene and some don't buy the combalant san you or
For ourselves, then, we're hearing teachings tonight on how to achieve single-pointed concentration, and we should generate a motivation to follow in the footsteps of Buddha Shakyamuni himself, to achieve calm abiding and conjoin it with meditative insight, to realize emptiness, in order to become a Buddha for the sake of all beings. So on this most auspicious of days, we generate such a motivation to follow perfectly in his footsteps.
Adine Zadang Shine to Viagate, Shine to Vialia, and the Carriores, and the Kyundu, the Carriores, and the Shine to Town Lagina, same neighbor Taptula, Gula, Dine Shine to Town, and then Yapang upon the Dushake in the Shine to Town, Shine to Town, to Sunhana, Deneki, Yamlen Jeta Kara, Retina, Dona Nimbona, Chasan Santigore, same neighbor Tapgula, Dine Shine to Naya, Nyabang upon Dushake, and Yamlen de Krugo, Chigore. Yabang upon a daily and Yaboki, Timby Yamnachi, Shinny to Ducale, same neighbor Tapkudi Yamnachi, Niga Yamnachi, Chik Yamnachi, Niga Yamnachi to Gore, Dandala, the Suntama, Lobsang Dorje Kablama, Sunda Kahar, Madam.
As we looked at last week, or as I mentioned last week, there are two different methods for achieving calm abiding. And the one we looked at last week, that was the method of the 5 faults and the 8 antidotes. And the second method is the one of the 9 stages of mental abiding. So there are these two techniques that both lead to the same goal, the achievement of calm abiding. So other than a slightly different method, there is no stark difference between the two in that they lead to the same outcome.
Shine Duya said, Shine said, you carry me and tell a teacher same thing it's in the teacher to nature. That Kazin, Devenia, and the Kanga made the Luda, same Shindo Chaviki, Dewa said, Toya Yorwata, the negative David simply things in the Leshinesi or water, the negative Shinesi or. So that the negative Shinedi and Zugo Comche, the same day, Teju Nature Comche, and Drupche and Yonko Gorwa. Jazadi, Yonko. Truelia and the Barcheros Masona Carre said to do Nyavanga Yores at the kissing the Shirua and Yavanga Yores.
Calm abiding is calm abiding is achieved through developing the mental factor of stabilization or meditative stabilization, which is one of the 5 object ascertaining mental factors. Developing this so that it can hold an object single-pointedly, undistractedly. So therefore, the mental factor of stabilization or meditative stabilization is what is developed, and when it's able to hold an object single-pointedly, it is that mental factor then is called calm abiding. To achieve calm abiding, though, is not particularly easy. There are a number of obstacles, And last week we looked at the 5 obstacles that serve to impede the attainment of calm abiding.
다 가르스네 아주기 대신에 주야리야 안지 주고 선배는 예리야 제 다딩이 용말선 레로기야지 레로직 아주기 가르네 기위 자와 제발 레로기나 디기위 자와 제발 발세주원 제산 규현 지셔 레로 용을 해지래 제산 레로직 그래서 안디 가르요서는 안디 안지게 신에 다 레로 메나 신이 두두갑로 두여 곰자에 그 제디 갑라 안 담가디게 제바 니마 라미 갑려야 먼저 신내도 어두스럼 나데 데데데 제와 데데데 곰고스 데네 제고라서 깔롭나 쇼기데 잠바 제소번에 담가 제바 디한견데 데네 담가 제바나 안 제다신 말와 제산 디한견지래 제르바 나 아니다 마 나 데니게 담가 마제바 레로 메바제 담가 메바 담가 마제바제 데스 담가디게 야고 여바제 안 마직 곰 제비 신내 두비 내가블라 진괴니 용거래 진화다 거봤어 다 진괴니디 교연직을 해서라 다 교연 숨치러서 시바델라 가려서는 진괴 중요에 갑려야 시신기 진괴 용도 밑에 시신에 따바지 고래 되는 따바 맞이바 샤샤바이나 디 교연에서 그래서 된다 하모고는 되는 진괴게 되는 진화자에 레디고로 진화다 진화도 곰베까로 진화다 진괴 중고도게 밑에 시신이 제바제 고래 따서 제고래서 따서 맞이바 제바이나 맞이제 샤샤바이나 근데 진거리 레제 아니 그딘 진거리 레디고레스 제가 딩에서 약고용 주마레스 대 다시 맞제바네 디엔 규현 시바데레 그래서 규현 지그레 규현 시바데레 나 진거리 차상 매바제 샘사틴 이제 유래 제지도 예베갑라 디네 아니 진거리 중고도 메데스네 아직 따바 제바 있나 디 노트레스 디지교 말해서 제가 규현가디 디레다 그래서 레로 아니 담가 제바 아니 지기 진거리 되네 진거 준비 값소 님보 미템바 되네 직 셈제지도 네데 진거다 다 셈제지 니베 값라 다 님보 삼라 님보 템바 제바이나 딩아디다 먼저 신내 주야라 교연데 쇼레
The 5 faults then that serve as obstacles to the attainment of calm abiding are firstly laziness. Laziness is something that we may encounter when engaging in any virtuous activity, including the attainment of calm abiding. So that is the first obstacle. Should one overcome laziness, though, the second obstacle would be forgetting the spiritual instructions one has received from one's teacher, being told how to go about the attainment of calm abiding. So one may forget the specific instructions for one's level of practice. Then the third antidote, that would be falling under the influence of either laxity or excitement, mental agitation. Maybe mental agitation is better. So the third fault then would be falling under the influence of the mental factors of laxity or mental agitation. The fourth fault would be not relying on antidotes when one needs to rely on antidotes. For example, if one is under the mind has become lax or the mind has become agitated, then one should be applying an antidote. The fourth fault is not applying the antidote when one should. Then the fifth and final fault that serves as an obstacle to the attainment of calm abiding is the converse to the fourth one, applying the antidote when one shouldn't. So the fourth was not applying the antidote when one should, and now the fifth is applying the antidote when one shouldn't. In other words, when one is abiding well on the object, but then applying an antidote as opposed to rather just merely abiding on the object. So those then are the 5 faults which serve as obstacles to the attainment of calm abiding.
안데라 님보 지엘라 요데 당주 레로데라 안지게 네 가선 간중한 님보 지에서 대바고 그래서 대바기 그래서 신내세데 신내주데 배 야고래서 신내게 연된 통 아니 신디기 약고랬으면 신디기 대박이 오거스 제가디 대박이 돈다 가르쳐고 그랬나 신이 줍나 윤된된된데 요래서 신디기 윤된디기 파삼 따වෙ네 신이 빼고 그래도 와서 베기라 신이를 대박이 거래 대박이 약고래서 벨람 삼로 대박이야나 되네야 어딘가 토구도 승하디 고모도 선비기 돈이기 듬발에 용을 해지래 제가 다 돈이기 듬발에 용도 되네 야네야도 공구래서 공부를 고추고 준비시기래서 지난 준비리기래서 지난 준비를 공부하이나 되네 류심신도 자외게 신장세 토여도 신의 토주고라 신자도 된 레로 매바 차르고 그래서 제가 디님보 시디 뭐디 쪼디 도시네 레루기 님보 매바 써야 될 님보 시순 거래.
So this method is that of applying the 8 antidotes to the 5 faults. The first of the 5 faults was laziness. Of the 8 antidotes, 4 relate to laziness. The first that needs to be applied is that of faith or trust or conviction. So here, the faith that serves as an antidote to laziness, and laziness is an obstacle to engaging in the cultivation of calm abiding. The faith that is being referred to here is faith in the good qualities of calm abiding, or the benefits of calm abiding. So here, to generate this faith, one reflects well on the great benefits of calm abiding, giving rise to a faith or perhaps an aspiration to generate calm abiding. And this then is the first of the 8 antidotes, and it applies against laziness. Having given rise to faith in the good qualities or the benefits of attaining calm abiding, one will be able to readily apply the second of the 4 antidotes to laziness, and that is determination. A determination to achieve calm abiding. Because one now has faith in achieving, faith in the qualities, and now one applies a determination to achieve them. This then gives rise to the application of the third antidote to laziness, and that is effort or endeavor, where one makes great effort or great endeavor in one's efforts to achieve calm abiding. And these then are the 3 initial antidotes to laziness. The fourth and the final antidote to laziness is that of pliancy. And pliancy is achieved when calm abiding is actually achieved. And then one will not come under the influence of laziness because of having achieved the bliss of pliancy. So those are the first 4 of the 8 antidotes, and they all relate to the first obstacle, that of laziness. And the 4 antidotes were faith, determination, effort, and pliancy.
먼저 교인지 담가 제바들어 담가 제바디 님보들 담가디 마체바죠 어디래 디레스미 템비기 담가디 진도 바이나 담가디 님보 책으로 담가 미제바 템비 진바디.
The second obstacle was that of forgetting the instructions from one's teacher. The antidote to that is mindfulness, or perhaps better than mindfulness here will be recollection. So there is a synonym. Recollection of the instructions is the antidote to forgetting the instructions.
교인들의 증거니 주면 답에 시신 고고래서 시신데 시신되게 진공비 qabla 시신을 함사 그 증거들이 중민도 신에 따되게 시신이래서 어때 제사 증거이 뭐 시신이래.
Of those 5 obstacles or 5 faults for the attainment of calm abiding, the primary obstacle is actually the third, that of laxity and mental agitation. So this really is the primary obstacle to the achievement of calm abiding. To overcome it is the antidote of introspection or vigilance. This is required so as to be aware of when the mind is lax or agitated.
나 진구 중앙의 하고의 시진이 다 진구 중 하고의 되는 데를 녀보 땡고고 녀보 맞된 바 샤바디 규현지와 제스 남산 진구 주디 남산 녀보 땡야디 반녀보 땡 바나 아니 녀보 차고 진구 맞된 녀보 두셔봐 녀보 온바 두셔봐서 녀보 땡바디 디 템베 진바디 템베게 어디지 디 야미 바디들 템바들 템베 진지 녀보 템바들다 녀보 직차고래.
The fourth obstacle was not applying the antidote. The antidote then relates that the antidotes that not being applied is referring to laxity and excitement, the preceding fault. The antidote to not applying the antidote is to apply the antidotes. So again, the primary obstacles to achieving calm abiding are the faults of laxity and excitement. Their antidote is introspection. When introspection observes that the mind is either lax or mentally agitated, then one needs to apply the antidote. And that then is the seventh antidote, and it's the antidote to the fourth of the five faults.
안지기 친구의 니가 매 제지도 내 되바디 딱다 뒤되어와다 내내 제지도 내베 갈라다 다가랑 지는 곰 되고 걸와 내 먹은 바치 친구의 님보 누구 친구의 중국도 되면 님베 셰럽게 제바이나 곧 바팅에 진 제지 내발로 바시 지고로 제사 내니기 제지도 내베 갑라 내니게 제바지고 말해서 그러다 제지도 내베 갑라 신이의 제지도 증거다 제지도 내베 갑라 심다가라 샤고래죠 곰도 신 제주 샤고래마도 나야지 증거 누구에 셰럽게 제바치도 띵인진데 다가네를 바시시고래 제가 뒤지고 말해지래 다 셰럽게 시신이 제바치가 셰럽 니가 연구로 와대 시신 날에 디나 니가 연구로 와
The final of the five faults was that of applying antidotes, referring to then when one should not be applying antidotes. So here, in this situation, the meditator is holding the object single-pointedly. But instead of just abiding on the object, the meditator is continuing to use wisdom and introspection to examine the mind to see whether it is under the influence of laxity or excitement, laxity or mental agitation, when rather the meditator now should just be abiding on the object. So the eighth antidote then is equanimity of resting naturally on the object.
당보 대바체 되네 듬바체 되네 전주 좀금 전주체 안디젤라 담가 담바딩 거로 담가 담바딩 거로 안에 증거다 시신기 증거 중에 답에 시신 다데네게 증거 중에 님보 된 되네 증거 마 증거다 자체 띵게 제지도 네베갑 님보 마대바도 수검 되네 곰베게 곰발에 되네 담마들 가르슨 류심신도 제외 대외 심비 대화서 리고래 제가 대시기 레레 님보시에게 시바디 담마들 리고디 게나네
Whilst in the presentation of the eight antidotes and how they relate to the five faults, pliancy is mentioned as the fourth antidote relating to laziness. The time that it's generated is actually once calm abiding is achieved. Only then is pliancy generated. It is the mark, actually, of achieving calm abiding. So the final antidote is actually only attained and is able to be utilized once calm abiding has been achieved. We covered last week these five faults and their eight antidotes, but it's not a sixth fault to mention it again and to refresh our mind, be mindful or recall what we covered last week.
Nimbo Jay Denji, Shinian Jubio de Gabla, Shinian Juviala, and the Kishu Kanashik, 요구래 세지나 아니 신의 주에게 유치고라 등한 참 검겹서 유제 사시고래제 유제 안데라 아니 검제가 수수라나데 미디 대충 되버충하고 그래마다 되버 첨부 있나 안 뱉는 되버 첨부에도 어다 잘라디고 니고 숨어도 되는 잘라베데 되는게 차베게 차베게 망고 슈침본데 되버 첨부 차바나 검자에다 발식으로 가서 내가 줘로 세상 되버 충하고 그래서 되버 충화 네 초시야 봐서 다 된다라 신의 주의에게 내세계 유시 사지드제 아니 미디엘에 미소소라랑 신의 주변에 되버 충화 초시 ane jawa mongbo besim bangba ane jige churim sonwa ane jige yang debe number to bangwa se de mida ba da koyu gyun kowa le gyun da ne ane do sino de yuan da kowa le cha be ge cha ba bangwa se go on de ne ji go yo go re ji le.
We've looked then at one of the two methods for achieving calm abiding. But before one can engage in the meditation itself, there are some preconditions for engaging in the meditation of calm abiding. The first of the six is to have a suitable environment, a suitable place to engage in cultivation of calm abiding. The second is to have very little desire. So here, desire or very little attachment. And in this we can think of a mind that isn't regularly drawn for wanting more or for wanting better or for wanting different. This is slightly different from the third prerequisite, which is a mind of contentment. So contentment has the quality of being content with what one has, whereas the preceding one, having little desire, was more about wanting more, wanting different, wanting better. Then the fourth precondition is completely giving up one's busyness, one's many activities. So one needs to completely give up the abundance of activity that otherwise consumes our time. Fifthly, having pure ethics. And sixthly, completely giving up thoughts of desire. So the sixth of the preconditions is to reflect on the faults of cyclic existence, the faults of samsara, and thereby giving up the desires of cyclic existence.
예, 당아 저기 되버 충화 고기 가서 되버 첨부에나 어당하라 강바디고도 모자디고도 딜레지 진이고도 되네질 제오 사베데 되버 첨부차 되네는 내가 망보차 내가 망볼래차 되네 한 곰자를 고가브라게 말해지 제선 되버 충하고 그래서 초시하고 그래서 내가 줄려 소소라나게 칼라이나다 둘로이나 또 당참 직섬지는데 디그리 선배 삼을 거레스 디메나 딜레 어디 야운 딜레 야가치고도 되사나 강바나 야가지와치고 딜지 세디 안디지 초시바 메나 아니 디안 안디 지게 양 딜레게 된다나 레레레도 아니 바시지기레스 자와 망볼랍디 다지 분자다 년세 망보 투야다 바소 제시야라 소바 아니 아직 지게 지다 되네게 롭장 망보 제다 되네게 얘네 년아로 다 지로 되네 자야 레가 망보에나 되네 어디서 봐 제시하는 지검자라 바시지고래 제래 다 수좀 다 가지고 우리 예제래 제가 수좀 야고 마송바이나 지 류가 있으면 거네 샤라 네베게 삼바다 안지게 자와 뭐 류게 자와 안잖아 네베 되네게 망보 제바이나 디게 안네가 바시지게스 제가 신의 주야라 바시지고래 제래 나 안냐지 나중에 신의 주비에 가르치는 주고서는 다 디네자 마 아니 코와라 닝보 민도 선비 코위기 최려야 규엔다 미다바다 디네 삼단다 코와라야 코위기 최려야 안 차비게 넘버 또 남도 망보 되네게 차비게 차다디게 매 지금 봐 네부 총을 당고 그래서 간제 된다라 미다바다 코 미대베 삼다다 안다지게 소소의 규변저다 되니까 닝보요 말게 지게 지비라시 미다바 삼다야 아니 지금 아주 코코와리야 안내나자 망보 아니 동아 망보 되니 규엔 도 삼당고 그래 예제 되니 도 삼당고 그래 되니 삼당에 신의 공간들라 당보 캐셜 마선 되니시 고고래서 그러다.
To talk a little more on the second to the sixth of the preconditions. The second was having little desire. So these are the desires that we have, thinking, I'd like a nicer home than I have. I'd like my home to be nicer than it is. I'd like a better car. This one's not so attractive. And all the kinds of plans and thoughts that distract us, that arise from these thoughts. So here is to have little desire. And again, this refers to not wanting more, not wanting better, not wanting different from what we have. The third, that was the second, the third is contentment, or being content. So this means being content with what one has. In particular, we think to a retreat setting, being content with the food one has, the clothing one has, recognizing that this serves the purpose of why I'm here. I don't need better food than I have. This is nutritious. I don't need better clothing. This keeps me warm. So here, thirdly, being content. The fourth, completely giving up many activities. So these are things like chatting to our friends and our families, keeping a close account of all our goings on in our life, being engaged in worldly activities, or having one's mind engaged in the activities of the world. These need to be given up. That's the fourth one, giving up many activities. Fifth is pure ethics. So here, ethics of our body, speech, and mind, we need to keep purely, restrain our mind from coming under the influence of the afflictions, and thereby give up any thought of physically acting or verbally communicating in a way that brings harm to oneself or others. Pure ethics is the fifth prerequisite. And then sixthly, that of completely giving up thoughts of desire. So here, one reflects on why do we want to achieve calm abiding? And then we return to the meditations on that samsara has no essence. And we come to this that is the conclusion that one comes through reflecting on impermanence. So why would one have desire for things which do not last, or for situations, or for control or influence that won't last? Also thinking about the suffering nature of samsara. All give rise to the wish to be freed of samsara. So this thereby gives up the thoughts of desire, because one is letting go of samsara. One's mentally letting go of samsara. So that's then a brief look at the second to the sixth of the six preconditions for achieving calm abiding.
The Timbu use or Elia and the Karko was in the Segonia Lava sitting on Sayatuya that in a color the Jitua Radebush wore, in the Taring Bush who draw in the best color Raya than Taring Buddha in the Tusha draw in Yandi Basichico, Chesna, the Nigge, Kala Goedipa, Raya de Paradebuch, the Ninian, the Lachicos, the Nichico,
Now we come to look at the first one, the first precondition, and that is dwelling in an appropriate area. So this has several key points. The first being that one needs to have easy access to the necessities that one requires. One needs to have easy access to get food and water and so forth. Otherwise, if one has difficulty sustaining oneself, difficulty gaining necessities, then this serves as an obstacle to achieving calm abiding.
Da denigi shine jupsage sajitelia jensen da denigi ju da den supole nyobi he semje denigi ya nyanga chemburu ji meba ji gugures andina shin mi njige kuma da denigi jawa da denigi denega ji meba ro denigi nyanga meba ji saji denigi gugurejere.
The second quality of the appropriate area to cultivate calm abiding is it needs to be somewhere that's safe from harm from predators, safe from harm from criminals, both thieves as well as violent criminals. That's the second condition.
dene me ba sachi ko sachi sang ma chi ko res karsene je de le ti sachi pe jang mo de chu she ji yue ne yang jang wa na zu yong ya da dene ji ge ye sachi zo ba ne di gi ji ma da dene gen ji ne an zu bo na zu yong ya ge ni ga yo dene me ba sachi sang ma ro sang bo chi ko res.
Then relating to the area, thirdly, it also needs to be a place that is clean and pleasant enough to be in. It needs to be an environment where one is not going to be harmed by nature, in that if it's too cold, one may get ill, or if it's dirty, one may become ill. So it needs to be suitable from the sense of the natural environment as well.
Dene draw sambo ko res jisna susu dan tawa tumba ani dene ge chutum tumba dan tawa tumbi ge ani draw ani sambo chu ya ko res me dene ji ge yang ji draw chi me na yang gang a che da dene gyung go ba an tawa ma tumba draw ba xue be na tawa ma tumba na di jian ji ne yang ji chu bo ya da ma chen ma mi tumba ma wa chen dene ba che go jisa tawa tumba ko res tawa tumba draw sambo ko res.
The fourth is that one needs companions, and those companions that one has around you need to be like-minded. And you need to be like-minded so that they are supportive and you are harmonious with them. If one is not harmonious with the people in one's vicinity, that is an obstacle. Or if one has different views, so therefore you're not going to be like-minded with them, again, it's likely there'll be some conflict. So one needs to live with like-minded people who are also ethical.
Ada dene ya dene ge sa ji de mi ba ma pa zhuo su de mi meng bu zhuo yang de dene jue bai ne yang ba xi qia guo de dene mi meng bu me ba da yang jia da ri da da ye meng bu be ye meng bu jia gui ne an ya ji chen da gong ne ni wo de ye meng bu jia de gong jia le ya ba xi ji guo dene ge jia da ri da da ye meng bu me de ge yang chu zhuo ji cha sen chu zhuo ba de ge ye de ye ne di ba xi ji guo de dene me ge an ji dene me ge zha dene ge me ba ji guo le ye xie de.
The next one then is that the environment or the place needs to be quiet. There should be few people there. It should also be quiet, not just from the perspective of people, but also nature. If there's a lot of noise from the wildlife, birds and wild animals, this will be an obstacle to the attainment of calm abiding. Also, if there's sounds from the natural environment, such as being near a noisy waterfall, this too will serve as an obstacle to the attainment of calm abiding.
Da sa ji yu de da gom ge de ga la da yu sa ji de ne ji kang ba ji na le ya de ji gom ge de an da su bu yu de tang ro ji kan ku ri se ji ne ma zu ge da do je an ne ge ji do ji ki zhong che su de ya da an do ji ki zhong che an ne mi na zer pa ba se de mi de pa ta ren mo ma de ji din ma ji ta ren mo ma da ji su su ge 중나 수수 너고 젤 봤다고 하지. 된 너고 젤 마다 갈래저는 수수 좀 되게 된 지마 도시네. 마다 되게 지고 그래지래. 안 수부디 봐 거두지 정보지야. 안 교교에 거두지 되고 그래 수고 정보 돼 봐. 이제 도시 기존 쇼봐. 아니면 나절 봐봐. 류 정보 내 봐. 시고래.
That then was about the place in which one that is suitable to achieve calm abiding. Then in terms of one's bodily posture when sitting in meditation, then one should have a line of sight down over one's nose, so looking downwards, the eyes partially closed, and one should keep one's back straight and comfortable. Oh, and legs crossed in the Vajra position.
Dene chagwani di pa kudu chene di tegar di lagwani dus chene chik che shadu an dewe dum shan di pa ni de majawa che an dus kudu che de ores uda bomba ni tegar chanyo bo che de ores ana go di pa pe dus ken de me wa che kudu che de se dene ki shu ores ko de ana jele shi ro akasa so da 제 카드게 주도되게 하는 넘기 나랑샤제 아니 젤레디 가르서는 젤레기 제디야 겐리야 다마들이야 도스전에 자고 그래서 자지 제디야 도스 자도 그래지래 고디 지단 고 정고치 되고 되네 교바다 되네 멤버제 고도치.
One's shoulders should be level, one's head should be straight, not to one side or back or forward. One's hands should be folded in one's lap, and the mouth, the jaw should be apart. The two layers of teeth should be apart. The tongue resting at the top of the palate. So this then is the physical posture to sit in.
대단한 우다에도 우대부지 려려지 대부지 당고래서도 아주 깨다 자당 직숙 첨부 당하면 려려라시 우다에도 려려 당고래 대부지 바당마다 어두지.
And one's breathing should be relaxed and gentle.
그래서 내도시 다는 아주 공비갑라 가르리 미니 신의 당보 줍디가라 되네게 안도스 미바디 가르테고래 세는다 미바다나라 대직단이 미바 망보여 자마라 제초 송다 망보여래 이내야다 나 지금 람림 나라야 안 지금 라만 남기 나 지금 신의 당보 줍디 미바다야디 안 템베고 꿀이야 안 미체네 검내야 고여래 순고래.
Whilst the object that one can meditate on and achieve calm abiding on, there are innumerable objects in the Lam Rim. For those who are striving to achieve calm abiding for the first time, it's recommended that one achieves it on the body of the form of a Buddha, the body of a Buddha.
내가 가려서네 근데니게 꿀이 미제 아니시고 미바이 꿀 미바이나 안 상이 제수 템비게 아니 쇠는 상이 제수 템비 쇠는 사야다 되니게 아니 제 최부 부여게 유차야다 되니게 쇠는 사야리 캬바 첨부 요래시래.
And it's encouraged for beginners to use the body of the form of a Buddha, because by merely recalling the body of the Buddha creates merit. And then as one's visualization improves, there becomes an ever greater or better object for making offerings to.
구들 야고 안에 양도 야고 미글 야고 따고 했어요. 야고 따 아니 도 야고 따 되네 셈리 봐 샤우도 메도 도 미글 야고 따젠 아니 안에 양도 따젠 안 소소 고며 저도 소소기 셈 나려야 수미 디구디 네 디믹다디오 멤버체 셈리야도 전에 구디 수년지 샤제 제 샤제 공공에서라 미바따야 돼 되네 수년지 미바따고 그래.
First then, one having selected a particular image of the Buddha, whether a statue or another representation, one starts by first looking at it clearly, so that one gains a very clear understanding of the image of the Buddha, so that when one is not looking at the object, one has a clear understanding of what it looks like in terms of proportion and so forth. Because when one comes to engage in the meditation, one is not going to be looking at the physical representation, but will be engaging in the meaning generality, or what one is recalling of the object.
왜 첨부세 왜 팅팅 유행지 삼당고레스 이 삼단에 내내 소소기 미버 이기 다 미기 통고 말 삼도 이기 셰바 삼로게 이기 셰비게 되네 삼당고라 구배 충충제 배 세고 왜 팅팅 지여바지 삼다 네파 내려야 내야 딩아주 대시 군 지게 수여제게 된 멤버체 상기 공회라인 삼비게 상기 공회의 구인 상용원의 구인 삼제 내려야 두신 데리아 로제주니야게 다 두신 미베테사데 두신 삼다 미베타고레스 어디 구디 아디 세게 구레 신기 구레 삼교 말지 데 파미베테 구디 상기 궁의 상기 랑게 구인 삼고레지레 상기 궁의 삼제 두 삼당고레지.
When familiar then with what the Buddha looks like through having observed well the object one has, then one engages in the meditation based on the mental image or the meaning generality of that object, so not on the material object. And the object of thought, the mental image, should be the size that Genlo was indicating, something like this. And one should hold it so that it's vivid and bright. And moreover, one should relate to it not as this is a mental image of a statue or of a picture, but rather this is the real image of the Buddha himself. So one should relate to the mental image as if it's the real Buddha himself.
That's all Karligor Delia Jimo Guebati Shukshima Tambo, Mazul Guebati Shukshe Ligore, Gueva Shukshe Ligore, then and Guebat Shukshura and Jimwati Lay or Watching Ligor. So that the negate that's all lady. So Gwen Chisho needed Jinguni de Ligore. Says that in Yambotin Hegel, Shabato needed tension in it. Jampa the Shishingi, Jingo Yungu with the Chebache. Jingui Jingwa go about lay Jambig Lam San Janche, Nipote, the Jambata Shijin needy, that Beju Chisho, the Beju that the thing is in Seju Neala, Jambata Shijin needy, Duchen, Jingui needy, do scout or Chizan do Chene, that do Jingui Chisho, Yora Shisho Jingui the legal, what the thing is in Combe Cabla.
One's familiar, one's got the right environment, one's sitting well, looked at the image well, and now one has pulled to mind the object of the Buddha. And one tries to hold that object in a vivid manner, relating to it as if it's the real Buddha himself. And this is when one is going to start to come across those the five faults that were mentioned earlier. And the ones we'll come across most are the two primary obstacles, those of probably mostly mental agitation or excitement. And when we're not being disturbed or taken away from our object by mental agitation, we'll probably have a mind that's lax or dull. So these two are the primary obstacles to the cultivation of calm abiding. And their primary antidotes then are introspection as well as mindfulness, which is to recall the instruction. So we need to be relying continuously on the antidotes of introspection and mindfulness.
Jalaro Jada, so Kangwa Jada, and the Jiggy washing what they Jada, then Rama then Jao did the Guevara. I'm Santis Guevasi on Dusin, the same day you could let some Tadu Kabla, Lamsan Shandachi Lejan, just all Gueva to go, Gueva Ligor, this Shaza, Gueva Dusle Yungrua.
When one's trying to hold the object well, you'll see how the mind is so distracted to a variety of things, recalling our possessions, maybe longing for possessions or planning forward, thinking of our home, thinking of our friends and our loved ones. And these are all illustrations of the obstacle that is mental agitation.
Dene Dusine Guevaliada, Dene Hansi Semdipa, Martuashi, and Semdipa, the Naptum door, cheating, there's a Mupali or Mupa, then the Chimali, then Magli is an issue to work, then they live.
When mental agitation or excitement isn't keeping us from the object, laxity may well do. And laxity is a dullness of mind, a sinking of mind. And coming under the influence of laxity, we may only notice as we nod off to sleep.
Jinwa dela jinwa rapa dan chamo da mangbo de jinwa chara mangbo da di so so rangi gomgu lia an chige lamegi an lamegi ma an chige 근데 난게 저도 신의 ngocho가 차고 그러와 맞다 진원 참모되게 파래도 가시 진원 참모래네 딩이 지난 지금 신의 면조와 삼제 소수의 신의 토빈사 삼제 고추지 너르지네 되니게 진화자냐 안 곰디와 되네 바 용시그레스 되니게 노조 용시그레 되니자 진화세 고미야디 네 지가 곰비갑라 진화 라과라과되기 돼 사고도 지네 진화 참모되게 만족이 소수의 곰고야 아니 지금 라미게 다지게 되게 주도 지는 아주 ngocho야게 차기 있어라다 진화 참모되게 진화라 라과 참모 먹고요래지 진화 참모되게 아주 갑리레 진화 참모되게 해도 난 내내기 난 냠바샤바로 최고래 진화 참모되게 디자 디닐레도 같이 신의 토빈스라 섬지 내내기 투지 다가라 두신되네 진화 곰디가 최고래 되는 노트 냥아요레스 디자 디네자 소수기 곰고제 될이야 라미기 아니 지게 라미가 도스 데르스 마가나게 되게 도스네 내신에 지금 두고에 예서하단
The obstacle that is laxity on a coarse level, this we all recognize readily ourselves, but there are many degrees of subtlety, and it's all too easy for a practitioner who's been meditating consistently, perhaps doing quite well, and think they finally have achieved calm abiding. But actually, they are under the influence of subtle laxity. So therefore, because this is quite a mistake that's quite easy to make, it is quite likely, it's important that one is in contact with, in communication with one's Lama, who will be able to guide one. He'll be able to recognize whether one has fallen under the influence of subtle laxity or whether one's training is going well, and will be able to direct one precisely.
아다디네 제 당한족이 신의 검고야지 윤생 가르람나 마족에다 녀모바 방야기 돈달이야 제산 신의 검 먹음바는 녀모 방투고 말자 녀모 방야기 돈달에 신의 검고래 제산 디네 인자 당한족 신의 검제 신의 당보 토병도 신의 당보 토역에 삼sem디 신의디 삼단 당부의 셈래 삼단 당부를 사 셰바래 아주 되비 셰바 말에 다데 아주게다 아주 되발에 사 삼단 당부기 아니 건주기 셰바 징아서 길에 깨와 토 살바 토고래
The purpose for engaging in this meditation, or this series of meditations, is to achieve calm abiding in order to abandon the afflictions. That needs to be our motivation. When one does first achieve calm abiding, when one has single-pointed concentration, one then achieves the first concentration or the first absorption. So that mind of calm abiding is the first concentration. It is a mind of the form realm, although it's been achieved by a practitioner within the desire realm. So a desire realm being will have a concentration, will have the first concentration or the first absorption, and so therefore they will have this, their calm abiding will be a mind of the form realm despite being in the desire realm themselves.
난 신의 세디 당보 토여도 되비때는 토고마도 되비때 당보 살바 토여도 되비때는 토고 되바 아주 되베기 때는 토고 신의 당보 토여도 살바 토여 되비때는 토면 삼된 당보기 때야 신의 당보 토여서 요만 혼자.
In fact, the newly attained calm abiding, that first concentration, is only achieved in the desire realm.
저기 되비게 저기 신의 검제 신의 토병도 네 삼단 당비게 셈직 셰바징 아주길래 깨바래. 다 신의 톱차나다 녀모 당한 저기 되버 가정 아주 신의 토 신의 검제 신의 토병도 리슴신도 제비 대화에 대비심비 딩이 센세 토병도 네 삼단 당비게 셈 깨바래. 세상 아주 삼단 당비게 셈이 검중을 놓아야 돼 아주길래 깨바래. gomchungulo, said. Some Jidang gomchungulo, something dambugulo to it. That something dambugas shebaching on jugular dambuke.
The mark of attaining calm abiding is when one it has both physical and mental bliss of pliancy arise. That is the mark of achieving calm abiding, and in that moment, one also achieves the first concentration or the first absorption. So therefore, one is a desire realm being who has now, in this moment, got calm abiding, which is a mind of the form realm.
다 진의 톱사 대다 양아주 녀모바 대비 마주게 대비 녀모바 당보 방고래 대비 녀모바 방고라 다 녀모바 방야라 다 신의 톱바 점니 녀모베 양아주 녀모바 방여 말 녀모바 요래 다 녀모 방야 된다래 신의 양자 공고래 양자 다 실라 라동사디 디바 공고래 신의 양아주 녀모 방야게 된다라.
When one achieves then that first concentration, when one has calm abiding, this though needs to again be developed further so that one can use it to fulfill one's ambition, to start to abandon the afflicted minds. Having achieved calm abiding, one needs to develop it further so that one can achieve the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
녀모바 방야기 녀모 땡 곰나들이야 다 rigni 용으로 녀모바 방타들라 데비 녀모바 사보나 제바 방조야기 림바 찍죠래 단 데네야 방나 찍리야 당보 사본데 마방바지 원주와디 마방 매바스 안 제리야 사본 매바스야 돼 가서는 데비 녀모 원도 주리요바나 아다디 이게 되샤 콩롱아게 데네 끼디야 강아도 데서 딩원주와도 마방 원주와의 바방 디네 안젤이야 사번 바야기 직당보 코로네 방탄들이야 사번 원주니가 념도 방줘야 직지 디네 지직지기 안당보 원주와의 매바스 방 디젤이야 사번지 방진 이 방탄의 마소나 직니 용거래.
One has been striving to achieve calm abiding in order to abandon the afflictions, and to do so now, having achieved calm abiding, one also needs to achieve the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. Now, in order to abandon the afflictions of the desire realm, there are two methods that one can utilize. The one is to abandon the afflictions of the desire realm together with their seeds. The second is to suppress the desire realm afflictions. So one can either suppress the desire realm afflictions or abandon them together with their seeds.
Tene 가지고선 다음에 다음에게 잡아지 다음에 사는 다음에라 미베 신의 주 tene 다음에라 미베 하동 주 어디 공부할 때네 다 녀모 방타 번거 디스타번에 제가 방도 그래.
These two techniques are quite divergent. To abandon the afflictions of the desire realm together with their seeds, one has to realize emptiness. There's no alternative. One has to cultivate the wisdom realizing emptiness. To suppress the desire realm afflictions so that they do not manifest, one does not need to realize emptiness. So for those practitioners who have achieved calm abiding and who want to abandon the afflictions of the desire realm together with their seeds, they have to develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight and meditate on emptiness. So their object will be emptiness, and they will come to try realize emptiness with calm abiding, and later then with a union of calm abiding and meditative insight on emptiness, because that is the requirement to abandon the desire realm afflictions together with their seeds.
Di lam gomya de lam ngone re ngazu temba shite tonyu dame ba tope lo kom ki de lam ngone kom di lam ngone kom che ta nyu mo pa ta de sa ba na che pa ta de di shi gor.
This of the two techniques, this is the one that is an actual path. This is the path of the Four Noble Truths and is the actual path.
Ta pa na chi di kare ros ne da di lam ying de le shira namba ching lam la ge shira shiwa da rape namba ching lam gom si de lam ngone ma re shiwa da rape namba ching gom che ane ngonju wa de pang ta ngonju pang sewe che la chema saban pa ya de lam ngone gom che pang go re ta bo ngonju pa ya de shiwa da rape namba ching lam gom che pang di jitin be lam di ma ju ge nang ba da chiru tumo wa lam de chesa je lam ngone ma re de.
The second technique, which is to suppress the desire realm afflictions, this is a mundane path. It's a path shared with Buddhists and non-Buddhists. And it's called something like the peace and rough path. So something like this. But it's a path that it's called a path, but it's not an actual path. It's a worldly path or a shared path, a common path, common to Buddhists and non-Buddhists, that serves to suppress the desire realm afflictions.
Da shira namba jing lam la de kanis gong gu re sene da sam da na de shine top che ye je le ya ane ga de gong gu re sene da du se wo re de ba da ji na de ba da sam den dang bo ni se de sam den dang bo pe ma se ya hu re se wo re de ba de pe ma se gyo re se wo re nga zo ya lo ne sa je ge ne ge zi ba na ya du zi ba na sam den dang bo de sha ya ga re de ba de pe ya gyo re ar se ne de ba na le ya ne na za mang bo 칼라 사고야 칼라게 든 튕긴 톤에 둘로다 튕긴 톤에 라야다 되는게 강아 내 나자 망보 안지 막과 그저 지금 마당 축주에다 되는게 망보 내 되네 강아 망보지 내 채통통 되는게 괜다 되발마 되는게 괜삼다 되네 도와스 나 될야 디 되발네 여러와 다 될라 되바나 삼던 당보디 빼마시 시와 사지디게 시와 ane zangma ane ne na se michike meba ane saya 동야 다 되는게 통나 강아 meba 차상 되는게 ane 체ring부 안제 콩로다 되는게 상황도 마송와 안 되는게 요레스 진짜 되는데 삼다 당보다 삼 되바니디 네네디 가리 야그리라면 삼다 당보다 셔라 야가래 되비 네디 셔라 뇨다 사래 지래 마 제고 말 콘트라요 말에 가고시요 말에 나 제고 말 축보요 말 축부 제고 말 콘트라요 말와 지상아저 되비네다 삼든 답비네세데 삼든 답비네데 베 마시 시월레스 되비네데 베 마시 축부시고 강아 예팅이 지레스 그 네기 야도 주는 삼든 답비네데 시라 야가래.
The training then, or in the mundane path, the path that leads to the suppression of the desire realm afflictions, this is engaged in the following way. So the practitioner is a person of the desire realm, but they have achieved the first concentration. So they have this mind that is their mind of calm abiding, is a mind of the form realm, but they are still abiding here amongst us in the desire realm. So they look then at the great faults that are manifestly evident in the desire realm and compare that to what can be found in the form realm, in the form realm. And they see how very different these two are. The desire realm, as we know, is so much illness. Illness can befall one at any time. There's so much hardship that beings in the desire realm need to engage in merely to sustain themselves. There's so much conflict and violence between people. And the lifespan here is so short. But in the first level of the form realm, those don't apply. The environment is clean, beings are healthy, their lives are long, they have no hardship sustaining themselves, and there's no conflict because there's no anger, because those afflictions have been, that level of affliction has been suppressed. So the training here is to see the faults of the lower realms and the benefits of the immediately higher realm.
Denige dusne deniza da samda de kartangosne stebase de be mase midigi ne che tongtong ne na za mangbo kala saya to ya da denige kanga mi be de control so da dene ma shu je kanga shu du gyun be gyun re sha sem be samda dan dele dene de samden dangba de be mase kiwu shu re da che ringbo ne na za da dene me ba saya to ya da dene kanga me ba an ji ma shu da dene to na kanga be 야고리도 선배게다 또이니 삼단 당보들 되벌에 되는데 삼단 당보들 빼마시 시월에샤 심제 될이야 띵이진 삼다제 두신에 공제 두신다 되네 띵이진 신에 제지도 내배 토네 셰럽기도 제바제네 안두신에 될에 미비게다 또 삼단 당보라 지도 검제의 삼다이디로와 딩이징이 되는 시월에샤 선배제주 삼다이디 딩이징이로와 딩이징 두스는 되발라 라파치 될라 되데 삼된 당봇 빼면 시월에샤 선배 딩이 셈제지도 두 삼다이디 딩이징이 딩이 검고로와다 되네 검비 갑라다 되니게 셰럽기 제바치고로와 셰럽디게 되니게 삼된 당봇 미디 딩이징 검비 갑라 되네 셰럽디 가르치고서네 samden dangbo de shiwar se tyoba de samden dangbo le tene kangare sha du shada ge jeba chine da ganjam du chene jeba chine dingi jingi jebe zeji du nebe ngane shada ge jeba chine jedo ge tabe ge lakdong sa de shine shila songje to du ko de de ne shila songje ge to yo du da 대시 하송하셔야 돼. 대신에 당보 신의 토로와 다 되네게 검지도 진 시라 남바진 람검네 다 될래야 학동하세 토로라. 진짜 시라 남바진 람기 학동하세. 진짜 디 토요데 시라 송제세 차바래. 디 톱세에 제일 신이다 녀몽비기 데비 녀몽바 녀보데 녀보 내 고미야기 고주고래.
So here the meditator has achieved calm abiding. And in their meditation, they are using wisdom. They're using wisdom to look at the many faults of the desire realm and the many benefits of the first concentration, of the first concentration. So they are using wisdom as well as having attained calm abiding. And eventually, they will be able to have calm abiding manifest and utilize wisdom at the same time. The wisdom won't break or distract their calm abiding. They'll eventually be able to use wisdom and calm abiding at the same time. That then will be the union of calm abiding and meditative insight that they will have achieved through this process of developing the mundane path of looking at the faults of the desire realm and the benefits of the first concentration. Because calm abiding is the development of the mental factor of stabilization, the object ascertaining mental factor of stabilization, into the point where it can hold an object single-pointedly and be calm abiding. Wisdom is developed, the object ascertaining mental factor of wisdom is developed into meditative insight. And when these two become a union of calm abiding and meditative insight, which has now been achieved through cultivating the mundane path, then the practitioner can now use this union of calm abiding and meditative insight against in the context of their genuine motivation, applying it against the afflictions, applying it to eliminate the afflictions.
Denigi dushine de kombe lamdele shira namba chengi lamna shira namba karsine rakpa debalbe rakpa gyunda Dela de something double be, she worries in some tide, she ran about in Lamla. D lam de combalatine, and as you debut your modi, doing la chapi, doing la chapi chapa, your moba bantu, doing la chapi chapa pana, doing conjugate, you go maridine, your mama chasa, meva chatu, just when you are to get staga, 7 biomar, the nation when you are bound to go. The niggy debut your mom when you are the bound you. Doing la chape, doing one you appointed, and the same Sabachagor, Karazin de Samden, wishing yum jukes at me. Samden, wishing yum jukes in it up, when it is some yard, the little wishing yum jukes at the Gyatso. Some the Dambaki, she or some the Dambori.
So here now, they achieve their objective of suppressing the afflicted minds of the desire realm, and so. But they haven't abandoned them, they've suppressed them. So that means the seeds are still there, but they are not going to be ripening right now. So therefore, they're not going to experience, for example, anger, because the desire realm afflictions are suppressed. So they're achieving the result of the, again, I don't know the proper translation, something like the peaceful and rough path, something like this. Do you know it? No. Anyway, so they achieve this. And when they have achieved also the union of calm abiding and meditative insight via this path, still within this mind of the first concentration, they now achieve a better level of this. Again, I mentioned the name, but I don't know it at all. Because there, as an aside, he mentioned earlier to tonight that there are a number of different concentrations, 17. So now he's going through a second one, but I don't know these names. So this then, the second type of concentration, but it's within the first concentration of the form realm. This mind is now of a better type, and one that comes after the union of calm abiding and meditative insight has been achieved, and the desire realm afflictions have been suppressed, so they are not going to ripen.
Denigi sem nyomoba, Dubi nyomo, Duyan la chapi nyomo bang, Wishin Yomshu said, Tobion and dinner, got Della Dene, Dangas, Washi Juya, Zutu Juya, the Washi Juyan, Washi Juya, Mambu Juya, the Nigger Zutu Gager, Drugo, Madame Lamsa, the Tobasami, Yungoma, in the top Savada, Lela Ore. Then the Washi to Wore, Washi Juya, and Zutu Juya, the Nigger, and Damara Juya Yungore there.
Having then achieved the state, then the practitioner their mind is sufficiently developed that they can now start to develop the 6 psychic perceptions, which include clairvoyance and miraculous powers.
Top savage Manyambache, Shivaina, Nagawakiris, and some the double key or Kiwachima, some the double kin, Machandal Drama, in some the double key to Hora. Oh, Manyambache, on Moshi the Manyambache, Shivaina. Yamna, Moshi Yum Juxia, or what, she knew the thing is in Yomo Bangdora, Bangbe, Bangbash to Gore. Della Cortense, Chitimbi Corten la Gore della. C'è di Togo di Yamna, Yanja Dubin Mon de Jursarawa, c'è anche Yawachima in some number Yamar. Di Manyambache Shivaina, the Dubin Mon Yomara, c'è Diza, some the Kawakiras in the Yawachima, some the number key to Gorege. Motion Yum Juxia Chira. Oje Ming de Ode.
Then, when their time of death comes, if this second level of mind of the form realm has not degenerated, they will still have what is called a worldly cessation, or a mundane, that's better, a mundane cessation, in that the desire realm afflictions have been suppressed, but they haven't been eliminated. So it's not an actual cessation or a true cessation, but it's a mundane cessation. When the time of death comes, if this second level of the mind of the form realm hasn't degenerated, when they die, they will be reborn within the first concentration. Now, first concentration refers to a realm rather than the preceding life, which was within the desire realm, but this particular mind of concentration, of calm abiding, was a mind of the form realm within the desire realm being. Now when they die, they will die in the desire realm and be born in the form realm in the first concentration. So sorry, it's a little confusing because the words are the same, but first one was referring to a consciousness as the consciousness of the first concentration. Now one is born in the realm of the first concentration.
차상 시에방 아주리 끼야요래 아주 곰치 다 띵에 준 줍시네 곰 되네기 대시 다되고 시라 남바징이 람 곰나 될래 되네 아주 람 토고 말에 람 줄에 끼고 말 다음에 또 말에 신이 줍차제 아주게 안 신이 줍차네 되네 람 줄에 맞게 반 다음에 또 매배네 다 대시 되발 파베 균시 락발랍네 균시고래 시라세데 균시고 균망부 균장자 삼다 될래 되네 삼다 당벌에 연대 삼다 dus komyode debe nyomo de pa pa ro gore ndi na shin da samna dangbo le gyön jang ya da de la de de samde ni ba de ya bo le sam gom ba ne an samna da be nyomo pa ro du chen ya pa jin su sam chasang ge sheba chasang de su da samde dangbo ni ba sum ba shi ba che de ne ana ene su sam nam ga ta ya nam je ji ya me si si se kon tu chasang si je ba du sam no chasang sem di ding yi jing ang ju le ge ya yo 이 수부 가서 되베 가사래 돼 수부 되베 가사래 돼 삼는 다시 가서 주길 깨요 되네 이제 깨요도 갑라 나주길라 삼는 가로스네 삼된 되니게 삼로 차상 요래 나주 되베 셔바 요래 니가 요되르다 갑레라 딩이진 온도 주 갑레라 가서 되베 삼는 온도 주베지 다 차기로 와다 되네기 지금 거로와 그래서 람곰 고야다 다음에 또 고야 매가래 lam gom goya yo mare da me ba to hwa yo mare se lam gyule ki go mare tene gom che dis to bale
That's actually an abbreviated presentation. This can be extended quite a lot further than that. So this mundane path is called the path of peace and coarseness, perhaps, in that the peace refers to looking at the desired peace of the realm above where the practitioner is, the realm the practitioner would long to achieve, and the coarseness of the realm where they are. And thereby, they abandon the desires of that realm that they're in and give rise to the wish to achieve the realm above themselves. Okay, and what I've just said, change the word realm for consciousness. That is better. So just in the same way that the practitioner who achieved calm abiding did so in the desire realm, where calm abiding is always achieved firstly in the desire realm, that mind of calm abiding would be the mind of the first concentration. It's a consciousness. They then would look at the faults of the desire realm and look at the benefits of the form realm, give rise for the desire to have minds of the form realm, and in this way abandon the minds, suppress the afflictions of the desire realm, and they would then attain the second level of the first, the second concentration, which is the consciousness, which is a mind of the first concentration, which is a realm. There are 17 different concentration consciousnesses or absorptions, which are consciousnesses within the form realm, that a desire realm being can achieve. So in other words, if any desire realm being, such as yourselves, achieves calm abiding in this life, one can develop these consciousnesses within oneself and achieve any one of or any number of these absorptions or concentration consciousnesses that are consciousnesses of the form realm. And in fact, one can go beyond these 17, into the 4 that relate to the formless realm. And one can achieve those consciousnesses. One does so in a sequence. The sequence remains the same, looking at the undesirability or the coarseness of the current mental state and looking at the peace of the mental state above it. And one can go through progressively, or sequentially rather, all 17 of the absorptions of the 4 realms of the form realm, and thereafter the 4 of the formless realm, all whilst being here in the desire realm. So therefore, one will have a body of a desire realm being, one will have consciousnesses which are of the desire realm, as well as these meditative concentrations which are of the form or the formless realm. Sometimes a desire realm consciousness will be manifest, but not the afflictions, because they have been suppressed. Other times, the concentration will be manifest, and therefore one will have a consciousness of the form or formless realm manifest within one, despite one's body and one's environment being that of the desire realm. So all of that is possible for desire for human beings or desire realm beings. This can be done here. What this meditator has not done, though, is any meditation on selflessness. So therefore, whilst they've achieved a mundane path, they have not achieved an actual path, because there's been no meditation on selflessness at all.
이네 람 냠렌치네 람 귤레케기 디 네디 가와야가르스는 한서 되비기 땐데라 람 귤레케알 냠렌치 레라요레스냐 람 귤레케와레 레라 감고미 땐레 야니야 껴알레스네 이니 람 냠렌 람 귤레케알 갈레카요레스 그래서는 얘기도 기우로 기우면은 강아 마삼나 델레 타르고 삼도샤리 두고 말아봐. 그래서 뇌발야 빼내 나사다 강아 망보 여반사 다 강아 델레 타르고도 선비 예중께 레라요. 그래서 남냠렌체레 되베텐라 남냠렌체 남께레 레라리도 그래서 예중 오미야 레라요. 그래서 강아 망아요로와. 강아 망아요는 강아 델레 타르고 삼보 슈체리 그러와. 강아 시라면은 맨 데레시 그 타르고 삼도 샤리 두고 말아. 말레바나 네 람곰고 말아와. 그래서 람귤레키알라 맞아 되베텐라 람귤레키알레 라요레스. 안디미나심 하고바도 나게 냠는 제야세데 나도 되비 미 텔마도 이네 수수멜레 냠는 제 기네요 말에. lam gyuleke nyamnen jela debetin le nyamnen jeba na ngazo lam gyuleke wa le la yores karesene ngejung ki le la wa te kale mangbo yena ngejung adi kale yena dele de targo sambe samlo shuchi le ro kale shera mena giwe na ade yagodo sambe targo sambe tarde king marwa a sutu suina ngazo debetin la lam nyamnen jena lam gyuleke wa le la yore chere 야 예수도 수멜 야기에 니 냠는 제번에 남기에 이게 깔래 가와 요래지 그래서 네 중에 안지
And also, just to say further, when one is in the desire realm, it is much easier to generate definite emergence, and the determination then to either attain liberation from cyclic existence, or certainly to achieve a mind of the form or formless realms, a consciousness of the form or formless realms. It is much easier whilst one is in the desire realm than when one, in a previous life, has, say, achieved calm abiding and then attained a rebirth in the form or formless realm in the next life. It is much more difficult for those beings to, from a rebirth in the form or formless realm, to cultivate further progression higher and higher through the form and formless realms than it is for a practitioner here in the desire realm, because of the suffering that desire realm beings so manifestly experience. A being that is born, for example, in the first or the second concentration as a realm, so they're born in that realm, it's much more difficult for them to generate the sufficient repulsion for their current realm and give rise to the desire for the higher realm, because they are in such peace. Whereas us as humans, it is so much easier to see the faults of where we are and give rise to a wish for something far better. And also, so not only is it easier as a human to give rise to the wish for the peace of consciousnesses of the form realm, but also to give rise for to achieve the calm abiding and the union of calm abiding and meditative insight in order to achieve an actual path. In other words, to meditate on emptiness and gain liberation from cyclic existence. As a human being, not only can we do this, but it's much easier to give rise to genuine definite emergence, that genuine determination to attain an actual path, not just a mundane path, because of the manifest suffering that we experience and observe. And then lastly, also, from the desire, for a being in the desire realm, in fact, it's only a being in the desire realm who can engage in the practices of Tantra. We'll conclude here then for tonight. Thank you. Tonight then, just very briefly, we recapped what we looked at last week, which was one of the two methods to achieve calm abiding, the method of the 5 faults and the 8 antidotes. Then we spoke about the 6 preconditions that one requires in order to achieve calm abiding. And then we looked at the object, very briefly how to cultivate calm abiding in relation to the object. And then we looked at one of the 2 techniques for actually cultivating calm abiding, that of suppressing the afflictions of the desire realm through looking at the faults of the current realm and giving rise to the desire to achieve the peace of the higher mental state. So thank you. We'll conclude there. But maybe we won't conclude because I have a suspicion there may be questions. So if there are, then ask questions. If you can't stay for questions, then feel free to go.
Is there a text we can look at in relation to this formal subject? Look into it in more detail ourselves.
On the subject of what is generally spoken of?
Yeah, the formal consciousness in particular, this subject.
So what text can Genla recommend to look at more in the subject more detail, yeah?
The samsuk se samsuk se the salam yin namshagi shebi denigi jigor course delia the something dambo niba den the kind of samsuk se denigi then jig your pesida.
There is a text called Samsuk. I have a suspicion it's translated, but I really can't remember. No? So maybe I'll let you know next week if I'll try to find out. Okay. And this is specifically then about the presentation on the desire realm, form realm, formless realm. That aspect, yeah? Okay.
It's really brought up a lot of questions for me in relation to other teachings I've been listening to as well, with the And but I guess the question, Venerable Sekel and I were talking today about the differences between self-cherishing and self-grasping. And Venerable Sekel highlighted that in the Guru Puja, they talk about the fear of wanting to escape samsara and nirvana's complacency. So my question is what nirvana complacency, because that sort of confused me, like why do we want to escape that? But I'm just wondering if that is nirvana's complacency. Nirvana is what Geshe is talking about here with the concentrations. That they are blissful states of mind that aren't really looking at
If I recall correctly, it's the term is a peace of nirvana. There's something about having fear for the peace of nirvana. So can Genla say, is there any relationship between fear for the peace of nirvana and what he's been speaking about tonight in terms of looking at the peace of the high realms and the faults of the low realms? Is that the question? We'll see what comes and then we'll know. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, it sort of, for me, it's also expanded into practitioners, the hearers, solitary realizers, and the bodhisattvas. So, which is again, I'll be curious to hear the
di lame nya de shiwa si tisore de lame nya de bana gomja de shendin chigo ma janju sempa de shengi dun chelpe swa lame nya de nyangle de shiwa chade koronge da nyomo pa sawa na koron shi gomja dinge nyamba shi shi lingsha du gorwa jidan janju sempe gi di shengi dun jiwa zuo je rangdun di sam le je shengi dun zo je janju sempa dirwa jidan jiwi shiwa de le di 방저 디 되고 말디 데 지사 전신백에 현된做지거라 에디 마틴 바 다디디 아디디레
The peace then that's being referred to here is not the peace that's being referred to in the Lama Chopa. So the peace that's being referred to here is a mundane peace of a higher realm within samsara, and it is a more peaceful existence than what is attained from the preceding or the realm below that. Whereas, but it remains within samsara. So therefore, the state is impermanent and won't last. Whereas what is being referred to in the Lama Chopa, the fear for the peace of nirvana is referring to, as you said in your question initially, or at the outset, the bodhisattva having the determination not to fall, to become under the influence of the desire for the peace of nirvana, the peace that practitioners of the hero and solitary realizer lineage strive to achieve. So their fear would be to lose their bodhicitta and come under the interest of the self-cherishing. The bodhisattva's sole purpose is to benefit others, and therefore the bodhisattva has as their determination not to come under the influence of the self-cherishing mind at all, and the expression of the self-cherishing mind would be to strive for one's own peace, one's own nirvana. Okay? Simple? Okay.
Just a quick question. Are there different views on the Geshe said last week, or what I heard last week was that karma binding was necessary to achieve bodhicitta. Are there different views on that, or that was new to me? And I just want to check. I heard.
So I just want to check that I heard correctly the other day that karma binding is necessary to achieve bodhicitta. Is this an established position, or are there different views? This is an established view. Definitely, calm abiding is a prerequisite to achieving bodhicitta.
And would that be the case for the developing the renunciation needed
For bodhisattva.
For the hero and solitude.
For the hero and solitude. And then for hero and solitude realizers, to enter their path, they need a definite emergence, renunciation. Do they also need calm abiding to achieve definite emergence? Uncontrol. Exactly the same. They also need calm abiding. So you can say that to achieve any path, calm abiding is a prerequisite. And this is an established view. Okay.
Did you say anything about, reaching the formless realm to meditate the
No, nothing like that. In order to practice Tantra, human rebirth is the best basis. It was just that. So you don't need...
The formless realms.
Sorry?
To reach the formless realms, it's a matter of also meditating on self.
How does one achieve the formless realms? Yeah. Ask that question.
Jibare sume kam duyala that mane samdan shiba ya gyuen bene chike gyuen da dele de ne samde bene da na dangwa namga he to namga the le yuen den da che tu samdan de samde shibi yuen mo ba ru ko.
One progresses through the various levels of the form and then thereafter the formless realm in the same way, looking at the faults of the current state and the pleasure, the peace of the higher state. And one progresses through each of the 17 subdivisions of the 4 absorptions of the form realm. And when one gets to the fourth level of the fourth absorption, so I suppose the 17th state, 17th level, then one looks at the peace, the great peace of the formless realm. So it's the same process to go through all of them, one after the other.
Only through calm abiding, yeah. But now through calm abiding and through self meditation on the self and the emptiness of the self, can you go into the formless realm from this life?
You can attain the formless realm in this life, yes, but there's no reference here to selflessness, to meditating on selflessness. This is the method that's not using meditation on selflessness. There's nothing about selflessness.
No, I know, but I'm just asking that question. Is that required to reach the formless realm in this life to have to overcome both of those? Emptiness, in other words.
So do you need to meditate on selflessness or emptiness in order to achieve the formless realm in this life?
Yes. Okay. As well as the calm body.
Okay. No need to meditate on selflessness or emptiness, no need at all. One just uses one's karma or develops one's karma abiding, moving sequentially through the form realm absorptions into the formless realm absorptions. No need. This is a path shared with non-Buddhists, so there's no need for any meditation on selflessness. Clear? Good. On this side, George. Yeah.
Okay. If one has reached the mundane path of the first concentration of the form realm, is there any effort required to go to the other realms up and down?
So once one has achieved calm abiding and the first concentration or the first concentration, is much effort required in order to achieve the second yeah. Okay.
That state the Kaleo Vagasana, something down big in Yomo Payala, Yomo Pangurua, just a Yomo Pambala, and something to near Shadachil, some Dangurua, Tisankora near Kadikan, something knee biggie, something up in Yomo Pangurua there. Just regular cars in the Shini Drupsara, or Shini Drupsasa, Yambasha, just Lela, or Yam, Tambo Druya, Dan Chine, Samba Drupsi, just Lela.
So effort is required, because as one progresses through each of those levels, one is needing to suppress the afflictions associated with that level. That being said, once one has achieved calm abiding, then it becomes much easier comparatively, but it's not without effort, but it's a lot easier than the initial attainment of that first concentration. So each of these levels, one suppresses the desire realm, the afflictions associated with that particular realm. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.